All right, 3 videos in 3 days on the new Essentials series of handheld recorders from Zoom. And this being the second day, that means we're going over the new H4 Essential. And if you missed the first entry into this series with the Zoom H1 Essential, you can check that out up here. Now, it didn't go well. I was a bit frustrated with it, but most of the points are going to be summed up in this video if you can't be arsed to go and watch that. Now, this is the Zoom H4 Essential, and well, this thing is already doing better than the H1. But before you rip out your pocketbook and start throwing money at the screen, let's talk. This, the H4 Essential, gives off vibes from the original H4n, but by no means should you be expecting a 160-ish page manual with this unit. This is very much a stripped down version of the older recorder, but I guess there is one plus. It's very hard to get lost in the menus. As for those menus, well, it is a well-needed upgrade. Still a bit clunky at times, but far better than the older version by a mile. And I guess here's a good time to talk about the screen as well. I'm not exactly sure how Zoom makes their screens look both new and extremely outdated at the same time. I guess, yes, it is an upgrade, but it's kind of like we finally replaced our old ColecoVision with an original Xbox. Yes, an upgrade, but it's still several generations behind. As for the feel of the unit, it is so much better than the H1 that I reviewed in the last video. However, the last generation of H series, I guess you can call it, feels just so much better. Just feels so much better in the hand. Saying that though, this new H4 has a bit of heft to it, and because of that, it doesn't feel or sound as hollow, which results in less handling noise. I gotta say, it's really easy to hit these buttons.
File list.
Yeah, that's annoying. So when you're holding this, you gotta be really careful you're not hitting the volume button. Just keep that in mind. Also, you can turn off the audible prompts as well. But make no mistake, there is still handling noise there. And I think that's going to be mostly due to the XY mics being hard mounted instead of the shock mounts they had on the H5 and H6. Now, again though, Zoom plastic on the build. And again, I'm going to say it, that's nothing too surprising here. Also, much like the last unit, the H1, this comes with an EIN of neg 120, which I think is my biggest disappointment on this whole release. And yes, that is the same as the older H4n and H5. But again, these are 10 years old. Neg 120 is not okay in 2024. I don't know who at Zoom needs to hear this, but it's time to move on from those preamps. So then, saying all that, let's check out the EIN with a dynamic mic and see how it fares on the H4. This is a whisper test. We have the Shure SM58 going directly into the H4 Essentials. Now, this is going to be really interesting to see because this is a dynamic mic, really low noise. So we're really going to get an idea of what those preamps can do with this, the Shure SM58. Also, ASMR, new channel? That is the EIN in full action. Now remember, the allure of 32-bit float isn't just for peaks not distorting, it's also for the quietest of signals being able to be boosted without additional noise. Now, what this thing does offer is the meat and potatoes of what the old H4n offered, with a few upgrades, meaning you get those XY mics as well as the 2 XLR inputs down here. And of course, you get all of the features that the new H1 has, like the accessibility options, which is a really nice touch.
Rec settings, output settings, input settings, file list.
I guess I should also mention, like the H1, this does take micro USB cards up to 1 terabyte. Now, in the last video, I also remarked about how much audio that would be, and I couldn't even fathom it. Now, to make that point, I have a 32 gig card, which gives me over 15 hours of record time. Now, I'm no hairdresser, but I think that math means I would have around 480 hours of recording time with a 1 terabyte card. That is absolutely insane. But then, with all of that behind us, I guess this whole review comes down to, is this, the H4 Essential, usable? And the answer to that is yes. However, this is basically an H4n with an upgraded screen and 32-bit float. Combine that with the additional handling noise, I'm wondering which one is better, this or the way more feature-packed H4n Pro, which by the way is currently priced at $170, or even better, this H5 for $250, where you can actually take the capsules off and replace them. That's cool. So it should come down to that 32-bit float, I guess, which is a really big deal in handheld units, I'm not going to lie. But why go through all the trouble to release them with that bit rate, with quiet buttons and all that jazz, with preamps that are several generations old? I don't get it. Now, this big reveal teased upgrades, but I'm starting to wonder if Zoom is just upgrading the wrong thing. Sure, new screen. Sure, higher bit rate. I don't know about you though, I would gladly take one of the older H4Ns with a monochromatic screen and the 24-bit depth for just some better preamps. I mean, no matter what you're doing, clean audio always comes first, right? Because we can all learn how to gain stage. But then, why is this happening? I think I have an idea. I think these are just a precursor to the new Pro versions that will be coming out later this year. And these are just an updated silhouette to the older lineup, which is both exhilarating and kind of insulting at the same time. And if you're considering buying something like this, perhaps it might be smart to give it a bit of time to see what Zoom might be doing next. It might be worth those few extra bucks if they are planning that Pro version. So then, should you buy this, the H4 Essentials? Well, I guess if you've always wanted the latest Zoom handheld, sure, I guess. Though I would tell you to take a long look at their older lineup, which can be picked up still for a very decent value. But you know what? I still have one of these in the lineup to review. That is coming up tomorrow, the H6 Essential. So let's see if this series can fully redeem itself. Cheers, and thanks for watching.